Hey, good morning, everyone. Good to see you there. How we doing, Miss Donna, Senor Hector, Sharon, Rosa, Don? Everyone recovered from yesterday, from last night? We had a praise break at service last night, so I didn't know if everyone was sore or what. I'm doing great. Doing super great. We were laughing before I came on live because, it's voting season. If you're alive and breathing. Sometimes even if you're not breathing, it's still voting season. If you're not alive, you can still vote, apparently. But I was getting spam voting texts, so I just started replying to them all and telling them that I already voted to leave me alone. So, anyways, good on you. So today we are wrapping up our series on healing truths. So if you have any questions, I hope you came ready with them. We'll go through some of the questions that have been asked, and we will come up with some answers. I'll ask ChatGPT what the answers are and give them to you. It was a joke. If someone could send medical team up to the studio to see if the people in the studio are awake and alive, that would be great. Man, it's a weird morning. Let's just pray. Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for your goodness, your mercy, your unfailing love that pursues us all the days of our lives. We thank you when we search your word that we receive wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and revelation. We thank you today as we wrap up our series on healing truths that you would give us the answers to any of the questions that we have. We thank you for it, Father. We thank you that out of this series, people will bring testimonies of healings and wholeness. We thank you, Father, that sickness has no part of our lives, that it cannot come near our dwellings, and it must keep its hands off of our families and our bodies. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. All right, what are your questions? All the question askers aren't even on yet. Make sure y'all tag, share, comment, text some people. We'll go through some of the ones I have, but if y'all have questions, pop them up in there. Great question. Glad you asked. So the first question, as a person in ministry, how do you go about dealing with people who are healed, then they ask for their whatever back, their hearing aid, their walker, their cane? Do you pray with them, or do you just let them go their way? So that really depends on where they are in their faith. Good morning, Angie. That depends on where they are in their faith. Like if they're just, hey, I need it back, then just that's where their faith is. Obviously, their faith is in having the thing back. Their faith is in, or the lack thereof. So just give them their thing back. And then if they act like they're like, man, I really thought I was healed, I still believe I am healed, but I'm struggling, then you pray with them. So there's a difference in where the person's faith is. Hopefully that makes sense. The next one is in regards to Mark 8:22. So let's go there. And if y'all don't have questions, this could be a very short live stream. Mark 8:22 through 25. Then he came to Bethesda, and they brought him a blind man. a blind man to him and begged him to touch him. So he took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the town. And when he had spit on his eyes and put his hands on him, he asked him if he saw anything. He looked up and said, I see men walking as trees. Then he put his hands on his eyes again and made him look up, and he was restored and saw everyone clearly. So the question is, why did Jesus have to pray twice right here? You know, some of it could have been the guy was offended, hey Chris, because Jesus spit on him. And the guy was trying to figure out, like, the guy's faith, like, think about it in the natural. If someone spits on your eye. I don't know if you've ever been in a prayer line, like, if we just want to get real. If you've ever been in a prayer line, the person's praying over you and, like, you feel a droplet of spit hit your lip or your face, and it totally pulls you out of the anointing. So maybe it pulled this guy out of the anointing that Jesus spit on him. And so he was like, man, what just happened? Could have been that. Could have been to show us to be persistent in prayer. Like, even when you don't see it the first time, keep pressing on. That's one of the points we talked about last night. In order to see radical breakthrough, you have to be persistent in your prayer. So it could be an illustration to show us that, hey, don't give up just because you don't see it the first time. I mean, I can tell you there's been multiple times, probably too many to count, how they didn't see it the first time I prayed, so then I kept praying, and then they got healed. So if I had an opinion on it, I would say it was more of that is to show us to be persistent and don't give up. Next question. If y'all have any questions on healing, remember, throw them in the comments. Can we stand in the gap for other people's healing with our faith, even if they keep speaking sickness upon themselves? What do y'all think in the comments? Do you think you can keep standing for someone if they keep speaking sickness and disease over themselves? Anyone in the comments that knows how to type? It's a limited time. How long? Yeah, very limited. Very limited. Like from the time they close their mouth to the next time they open it is about the limited time. Yeah, if someone is continually speaking sickness over themselves, it's very hard to stand in faith for them. Good morning, Miss Tao. So literally your only time would be from the time they close their mouth to the next time they open it. But even then, they're still, yeah, exactly. It makes it very hard. Can I stand in the gap for someone else's healing if they're not saved? Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, my big thing is if they're not saved, this is kind of what I always do. If someone's in the hospital and somehow I get asked to pray with them, or if I don't know them, like if I don't know them, if they're not saved, they don't go to any church, the first thing I do is I'll pray like kind of a general prayer over them, but then I direct them towards the prayer of salvation. I'll try to go through the script with them. And then once I go through the script, then I'll come back around and pray like a intense prayer of healing over them. Because that's kind of the way I would do it. If they're saved and they know the word, then absolutely. If they say they're not responsive or something. I mean, there's a great testimony now about a local girl that's semi-connected to our family that some of y'all may have heard of, that was hit by she was in the backseat of a car. There were like 4 of them, I believe, 3 or 4 of them in the car, and they got hit by a drunk driver. One of the girls passed away instantly, and then 2 of them somehow walked away. And then this girl was in my mom's on. I don't know how long she was in a coma, unresponsive for months, and everyone was standing in the gap for her. She was saved. She knew the word. And now she's out and doing great. So, person has more authority over their own body, yeah. So, we're standing with you, Tal, believing that your father is healed and whole. Is it okay for someone to try to convince someone else to go to a doctor, or is that not standing in faith? Okay, I think I kind of have I don't want to say that. I know some people don't agree with my stance. We'll just say that. My stance is, if I go to the doctor and they tell me what's going on, I know how to pray. I don't think there's anything wrong with going to the doctor. I think where it becomes where you're not in faith is all your faith is in the doctor. Now, how many of y'all have ever watched TV? Ever watched TV? By a show of emoji hands. If you've ever watched TV longer than an hour, then you've seen a prescription medicine commercial, right? And you can even not be paying attention. It's 10 months. She went to a movie recently. She's still in rehab. Yeah. So she came out of it after 10 months. So if you've ever watched TV here in America, you've seen a prescription medicine commercial. And even if you're like scrolling on your phone while it's on a commercial, it gets your attention because it's like, may heal from diabetes, but it may cause suicidal thoughts and heart attack and cancer and tuberculosis and like the list of things that it could cause versus what symptom it can help with is insane. And so putting your faith fully in the medical let me differentiate between big pharma and the medical system because there is a difference. Putting your faith in big pharma and medicine after medicine after medicine, you've got to realize those medicines are created to where they create more symptoms, so you have to go back to the doctor and get on more medicine and more medicine and more medicine. To where big pharma controls so much of the medical system now here in America. The medical system was not created to be like that. A lot of your major hospitals all throughout the country were created by Christian organizations and even hospitals. Even churches and denominations. They were created to be a help to people. But now so many things have been perverted by big pharma and the greed behind it. Good morning, Xavier. The greed behind it, that they don't care about your well-being. They care about making money off of you. And if you've ever had any encounter with a bad hospice company or a bad hospice person, you'll see it firsthand. They try to keep you alive just so they can pump more meds through you because they're getting paid big bucks when they push meds through you. And so there's that fine line. Like you've got to have a revelation that, okay, I can go to the doctor and they can diagnose me and tell me what's going on. But from that point on, like my faith is in the Lord. My faith is in the Lord. And yes, there are some good procedures there. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying all medical stuff is bad. There are some good things, some great things that have saved people's lives. So please understand what I'm saying. But yeah, no, for sure. That's a good point, Don. But I think someone asked me a question the other day that had nothing to do with what we're talking about. But I said, hey, you've got to rely on your own personal convictions. Like, so all of us are at different places in our spiritual walk. All of our faith is at different levels, if you want to say it like that. You've got to follow your personal convictions. Some people will not go to a doctor no matter what. Fine, that's their personal conviction. Some people will only go to a doctor if they're like dying or in absolute pain. Fine, that's their personal conviction. Some people will go every time they sneeze or fart. And fine, that's their personal conviction. Like, each of us stands before the Lord by ourselves at the end. So, like, we have to follow what we feel in our spirit and in our personal convictions. As for me, like, I couldn't tell you the last time I went to the doctor. It was for something like major. Like, it's just not something I do. Does that mean I'm opposed to it if something's going on? No, absolutely. Especially like if it's my kids. Like if something's going on with my kids and I can't figure it out and I've been praying and standing, like I'm going to get them, like I'm okay with suffering a little bit. I don't want my kids to suffer. I don't want my wife to suffer. You know what I'm saying? So you've got to follow your personal convictions on that kind of stuff. But is there anything wrong with going to the doctor? Is that being out of faith? That depends on your attitude when you go. That depends on where you are spiritually when you go. Like, are you beat down and not confessing the word as soon as you hear a report? Are you, like, a lot of that depends on your own personal attitude of the situation. Any secondary questions on that? Because I may not have fully answered it the way some people wanted it. And I know something like that has a lot of secondary questions. And Sharon, I don't know if you have anything to throw in there. Ooh, that's a good question. Don said, in addition to the eyes of the understanding be open, having the mind of Christ, what are additional scriptures to stand on for those with intellectual challenges who do not always recognize or understand that they have needs? That's a great one. Honestly, the biggest ones I would stand on would be the healing scriptures. I mean, Luke 14, or 4:18 and 19 is a great one. He came to heal the brokenhearted, to set the captive free. I mean, in some capacity, listen to what I'm saying. I don't want it to be taken out of context. In some capacity, they are held captive by that thing in some areas of life, not in all, but in some. So breaking that captivity off. The other thing you could stand on is 2 Corinthians 5:17, because something like that is from birth. And if I'm born again, made brand new, everything of the old has gone away and everything's made new, then you can stand on the fact that, hey, even the DNA is made brand new. So you can stand on that as well. So, I mean, it depends on, I mean, you can hit it from a lot of angles, Miss Dawn. You can hit it from the mind side. You can hit it from the healing side. You can hit it from the DNA side. You can hit it from all kinds of things. You can hit it from the wisdom side of just absolutely hammering Proverbs. So there's all kinds of things. I mean, there's endless scriptures. I mean, if you hit wisdom, there's over hundreds of scriptures just on wisdom. If you hit healing, there's probably 50, 60 scriptures just on healing. If you hit the mind of Christ and all of that, there's probably 30, 40 scriptures on that. The I ams, confessing the I ams over them, having them confess the I ams, those kind of things. Sharon said, there are times God works through healthcare. Absolutely. She's seen amazing things with medicine and God. Yeah, absolutely. She could probably come on and tell some crazy stuff. That's kind of like praying for someone that's going into surgery. At that point, like I've heard some faith preachers like, well, I'm not praying for that. They should have faith to get healed. Well, as a pastor, that's not where everyone's at. Like I get it as a faith preacher, I get it. Yeah, I get it. But that's not where everyone's at. Some people are at the point like, I have to have this surgery or I'm going to die. That's where their faith's at. So at that point, you pray that God would work through the doctors and the nurses and the techs and everyone in the room, the surgeons, the scrubs, everyone, that he would guide their hands, that it would be the quickest, easiest surgery of that kind that has ever happened. And something I always pray is a quickening in the body of the person, that they would have the quickest healing and recovery that the doctors have ever seen with that procedure. So, I mean, at some point, you got to love people and care about people and see where they're at and pray with them according to their faith. Any other follow-ups on that? If so, just throw them in there. And I'm going to go with the next question I have. And as we're going, if y'all have any questions on healing, throw them in the comments. I mean, what are all the topics we went over? We went over, obviously, blind eyes, deaf ears, mute mouths, incurable diseases, the barren womb. We went over the practical side of healing. What were you saying, Clemmy? Mental health, yeah, that's a good one. I'm surprised y'all didn't have a bunch of questions on that. Let me see my whole list. That's a dead raised, lame walk, demons cast out, deaf ears open, incurable disease, every manner of fear, anxiety, and worry. Addictions broken is another good one. Natural side, everything bows. Faith for healing. By faith you receive. Yeah. So if you have any questions according to any, along any of those lines, you can throw them in there. When praying for someone for their health, is it more of a matter of praying that they receive that revelation for themselves? Both. So it's a matter of a prayer of faith, and you're praying at the same time that they get revelation. Because if they get, good morning, Miss Mary, if they get revelation of that they can be healed, that's why, what was the first scripture I read every session? That it is his will that we be healed. Because we had to have that revelation to be able to stand on our own healing. I think this is a good point of how many of us know someone that got healed, like say in a meeting or when someone else prayed for them, but then after a week or so after they walked away, it came back, or a month or whatever. That's because they probably didn't have the faith or the revelation themselves to carry their healing out, to walk it out. But the corporate faith, that's why a lot of times you see people healed in a corporate meeting that's been standing on it and they've had people pray individually. The power of corporate prayer is almost like at a higher level because you've got multiple people's faith in there. Not saying that you can't see other things anyways. You've got a lot of factors at play. You've got individual faith, corporate faith. You got the faith of two believers standing in agreement according to what the word says. You got the faith of the elders that anoint with oil and lay hands on the sick. You got the faith of communion, right? The word says we can be healed through communion. You've got the faith on the word. We can just be healed by reading the word. Faith by praise. By praise and worship, you can be healed. But you've also got the faith of revelation. You've got the faith of corporate prayer. You've got the gift of healings, the gift of working of miracles, the gift of faith. So there's a lot of different elements to it. So back to the question. When praying for someone for their health, is it a matter of praying that they receive revelation for themselves? That can be part of it. I mean, and a lot of it depends on the situation, where the person's at. If they're asking, hey, why am I not seeing healing, or how do I see healing? Then that gives you an opportunity to teach about healing, to teach them. And I'm not saying you have to have a full 1 hour live stream to teach them about healing, or 23 sessions. I mean, you may have 23 minutes with them. So just giving them pumping them full of faith for healing gives them revelation. So I don't know that I answered the question at all, but that's my answer. Concerning the man at the Gadarenes, why did Jesus ask for the name of the demons that were inside of the man? What purpose did that serve? Great question. And I feel the only reason it was there, because you don't see it anywhere else, is to show that there was a legion of demons, and to show that the same authority over one demon is the same authority over all demons. Because what did the man say? My name is Legion, for we are many. And what did it say? How many swine were there? Do y'all remember? Come on, Bible school students. This is going to be on your next test. No, I'm just kidding. Somebody Google or chat GBT, how many swine? I want an exact number. How many swine committed suicide and jumped off the cliff? 2,000. So if you just say one demon per pig, that's 2,000 demons. So I think what you're seeing there is the same authority to cast one demon out is the same authority and the same power for 2,000. So to me, that's what I see that as, is that, and I kind of have touched on these things on faith. It's like, if you're believing for finances, believing for $1 is the same as believing for 1 million to God. He owns all the cattle on 1,000 hills. All the silver and the gold is his. All you have to do is have faith like a mustard seed, right? It doesn't say you have to have faith like a big Lebanon cedar of Lebanon. So just having that same faith is the same. Does that make sense? What about stopping taking medications? Rosa, I was hoping you would have some more questions. I'm going to get to your big question here in a second. What about stopping taking medications? That, again, that's kind of depending on where your faith's at. I'm never going to... This is exactly what Don just asked, exactly what I'm getting at right now. So perfect timing, Don. It must be the Holy Ghost. So let me just read Don's question and interweave it into what we're asking or answering anyway. Have you ever encountered someone having great faith to come off their medication, but the doctors being adamantly opposed? I know wisdom is to be used, but when should you override the reports? Let me just tell my testimony. I think my mom knows this testimony. I think I hid it from her for a while. And I wasn't even living for the Lord, but yet I knew the word when I was like 16, 17 years old. I grew up with ADHD so bad that whenever I was in kindergarten, they told my mom I wouldn't last 6 months in a normal classroom, that I would need to be in special ed classes because I couldn't focus and all of that. I was a guinea pig for Ritalin, Adderall. They would put me on so much Adderall that they'd have to put me on Prozac to bring me down. I mean, for those of you that don't know, Ritalin and Adderall are just speed. That's all they are. They're methamphetamines. And then they put you on Prozac to bring you down. So they have you on uppers and downers, just so you know. And it got to the point where I had zero appetite. I couldn't sleep. I just felt like junk all the time. And my mom was adamant that I had to take my morning dose. But then as I got older, she wasn't there in the mornings. And then I was supposed to go take an afternoon dose at the nurse at school. So when I got to about 16, and I would say semi-mature, definitely was not mature. I still made tons of mistakes. But semi-mature enough that I had been doing this for, I'd been doing this for 10, 11 years now. I could tell hey, it's not really making a difference in the way I focus in class. I'm still not focusing that great, but yet I can't eat, I can't sleep, I just feel like crap. So I kind of took myself off the medicine because I was like, look, I can't be relying upon medicine my whole life. I just can't do it. And I wouldn't say I was I have the faith to be healed, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, I knew the power of God. I knew I had seen people healed before. So I knew if people could be healed from cancer, then I could be healed from ADHD. That's where I was kind of at. And so I just stopped taking my meds. And according to me, I didn't see from the outside. My mom could probably answer from the outside if she noticed when I did. But to me, I felt so much better, and I felt like I could actually focus even more. And again, that it's a hard time in life to judge a 16, 17-year-old male if they're actually maturing and handling things better, because you're making tons of mistakes and stupid decisions. So my point to all of that, I don't know if that edified anyone, but my point to all that is, again, back to personal convictions. You've got to know if I'm going to stop taking my meds, that I'm sold out to the Lord. My faith is sold out. I'm not backing down. I don't care. If I see a bad report, if I see the symptoms come back, I'm not backing down. It's just like Abraham, like we kind of talked about last night in Romans chapter 4. Even though Abraham's faith should have weakened, it grew even stronger. That's where you have to be at. If you're to that point, then you pray. If you have peace about doing it, that's between you and the Lord. I'm not going to give you a direct answer to that, because that's something between you and the Lord. But I've seen it work on both sides. We knew someone that absolutely refused to go to the doctor, absolutely refused to take any medicine, to the point where they had a cancer that was easily detectable and easily preventable and easily treatable. It wasn't one of the hard forms. It wasn't one of those that could have been dealt with very easily in the very beginning without adverse side effects for the rest of their life. But they let it fester so much that it was literally coming out of their skin, and they died because of it. So, I mean, there's both sides of the spectrum here. That's why I said you've got to be wherever your faith is. If your faith is, hey, I don't care if I go home to be with the Lord, but I'm standing in faith, then great, do that. But if that's not where your faith is, then take the meds. And my mom tells a great testimony as well, is that she had to be on meds for something, and her faith was, hey, I know these meds aren't great for me, but because I'm a child of the Lord, I am not going to get any of the side effects. I'm not going to get any of the other things that the medicines can cause. So if you want to hear more on that, you can go talk to her. And Pastor Mike had her share that. Well, how many times did you share that in main service? Like on a Wednesday night, I know of at least 2, I believe. And I think he had you come up and share brief parts about it, but you're so long-winded that it would take a whole session anyway. But all right, good morning, Cheryl. 2 to 3 times, yeah. So any other questions, pop them in here, because this next one's going to be interesting. Someone asked me to talk about inner healing sessions. Have y'all heard what those are? So apparently, let me see if I still have it pulled up. All right, here we go. You ready for the definition? Christian inner healing sessions are guided times of prayer, reflection, and sometimes counseling that aim to bring emotional, spiritual, and psychological healing to participants. These sessions often help individuals process past traumas, negative beliefs, or unresolved emotional pain by inviting Christ's presence and truth into their lives. So, is that where they massage you through a Zoom call using energy? Okay, you're a weirdo. Is that a thing?
Yes.
Oh. So here's my kind of take on inner healing sessions. Why? Because here's where I've seen, this is where they get weird and they bring in like new age and spirituality into it versus the word. Is they'll have like special Zoom meetings or special like live streams or special meetings just for this stuff. That's the gospel. I mean, let's go read Luke 4:18 and 19. Like, you don't have to have some weird thing where you're sitting Indian style and wearing burlap to see the same results that preaching the gospel does. Like, that's kind of my thing with it. Luke 4:18 and 19. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because He has anointed me to preach the gospel. So that's where it starts. Preach the gospel to the poor. Sent me to heal the brokenhearted. Didn't we just read that inner healing sessions help people deal with past trauma? That's healing the brokenhearted. I prayed that over someone last night. I literally prayed Luke 4:18 and 19 over the person, and the person just began to fold like a blanket. Why? Because they had past traumas that were hurting them and keeping them bound. And when you just pray the simple gospel over them, the Lord begins to work and heal from the inside out. You don't, like I said, you don't need to have some special Zoom call meeting that's titled some weird thing. Proclaim liberty to the captives. So people that are captive, like most people that have traumas, a lot of times that's why they're addicted to something. That's why they have, we don't have to make it a weird thing. That's kind of like the whole casting out of demons. Like, it's just part of normal Christianity. Every Christian can do it. We don't have to make it its own doctrine. That's kind of like, people may say we're a prosperity church. We preach the gospel. It's part of the gospel. We don't sit here and only preach prosperity. We're a faith church. We don't only preach faith. We are a BCV church. If it's in the book, we preach it. We don't hold back from it. But that doesn't mean we hone in and make it one doctrine on one thing, and that's what we base our whole ministry off of. Our ministry is based off the word as a whole. And that's the danger of anyone that likes to pick apart the word and only base their whole ministry on one piece of the Bible. You get off into these weird tangents, and it just gets weird. It gets Fruit Loopy. It gets granola grainy. It gets weird. So my thing with inner healing things, like some of the principles behind them are fine. They're great. They're based on the gospel. But where it gets dangerous is, like I said, you make a doctrine just out of that one thing, and then it just gets weird, and that's when creepy stuff happens. So I don't know if that answered the question, and if the person that asked that wants to acknowledge or ask any additional questions, you can, or if anyone else wants to ask any additional questions on that, because it's a great question. And like, if you wanted to give me, here's the danger in me not answering anymore or answering anymore. Those of you that have had encounters with them would have to give me specific things that you have questions about, or specific things you saw, or specific things that were said, to kind of hone in on being able to talk about it more. But just from because when someone had asked me, it was really weird that when the person asked me, I had seen Facebook ads for these inner healing meetings. Just like you do the deliverance meetings. And I was like, what is that? Like, and then they asked me like the same week I'd seen it. So then I go and do a bunch of research, and like, again, the principles, the foundations of it seem fine, biblical, but the execution of it just seems weird. Jason asks, is that where they massage you through a Zoom call using energy? I don't even know what that means. That's like some koala bear stuff.
There was one TikTok, and there was this guy like going like this to the screen, and then the other person.
Yeah, that's just demonic witchcraft is what that is. That's what that is. Demonic witchcraft. Any other questions? I'm here for another 18 minutes, so. Questions, comments? We're wrapping up the series, so let's have fun in the last 15 minutes. This is your chance to ask anything about healing. You can ask anything about demons. You can ask anything about health, like natural health, working out, supplements, water. Did y'all all see my story I posted the other day about drinking water? Did I send it to y'all? I thought it was funny. Well, any questions in the studio?
What got you into thinking, or like buying more clean products?
What got me into buying more clean products?
Like, when do you think you started, and like what made you do that switch?
What got me into buying more clean products? I think realizing what's in our stuff. Well, let me go back further. When I lived overseas, the amount that I could eat and still be in excellent shape, like with little to no effort, was insane. So that got me looking, okay, that means some stuff's different. And then you start looking at the difference in ingredients of America versus Europe even. And it's insane, the things that are outlawed in Europe that are just in kids' foods here. The fact, you want me to blow your mind on the simplest things? Let me go back to Bible school. My mouth used to have sores all in it. And I was like, what the crap? Like, I start Googling what it could be, and I'm like, okay, I know it's not that. I know it's not. You want to know the biggest thing it said that most people that have sores in their mouth, they think it's like an STD, and they're like, I've never even had sex, is sulfate. You know what sulfate's in? Toothpaste. The very thing that's supposed to clean your teeth is destroying your gums. You know what else is in all teeth products? Fluoride. Oh, it strengthens your teeth. No, it's a dumbing agent. It's literally a dumbing agent. They put it in your water. They put bleach in our water. Like, they do all kinds of stuff. So that's what got me looking into all of that. So I went to sulfate fluoride-free toothpaste a long, long time ago and saw an instant reaction. So that kind of stuff, getting into all of it. Then you start reading and like, it's a rabbit hole. Like, like, you get so buried into it that you realize everything is set up to tear your body apart in this country. I mean, not everything is purposely done, but some of them are purposely done, because it's, if you go like, this is a deep, and it's not even a conspiracy. Like, it's been proven true. The same companies, the same main companies that own all the food companies are the same ones that own the big pharma companies, the medicine companies, that own the fitness industry companies. So it's a big cycle. They get you fat and unhealthy so that you have to go to the doctor, and the doctor tells you work out and get healthy. And it's all the same brands, but they all put you back to a loop. So even a lot of your health food brands, this is another thing that really got me going. If y'all remember when Tom's toothpaste first came out, long time ago, and it was the clean toothpaste. Then it got bought by one of the big companies, Kellogg's, Procter & Gamble. What's the one that starts with a G? Anyone have lotion or anything in here? No, it starts with an E. Anyways, there's like 3 companies that own everything. And as soon as someone comes out with a healthy, clean product and it starts doing well, these companies come and buy it and put all the crap back into it. Kind bars were another one. Topo Chico, another one. Coke bought it and started putting metal in it. That's why I don't drink Topo Chicos anymore. I will every once in a while, but I try not to. So there's a lot. That got a whole. My wife can go a lot deeper into it. Like, she knows. There's an app that tells you every product, how clean it is, how dirty it is, if it's got heavy metals in it. Deodorant, one of the worst things for you. One of the worst things for you, especially for women. You're putting aluminum right to the armpit has some of the most glands in it in the body, and you're putting aluminum straight into all your glands. Like, things like that. And then most of the natural deodorants are terrible. They either ruin your clothes or you smell like a wet dog. But there are some good ones. There are some good ones. I'm trying to think. Like, it's a rabbit trail. I mean, tap water is one of the worst things for you. A lot of your bottled waters that aren't spring water is terrible for you. Plastics, they put plastic in everything. Microplastics, if you've ever researched microplastics, they're in everything. There's very few plastics. Nalgene is one of the few plastics that doesn't get plastic into you. Even aluminum cans, you know what they're lined with? Plastic. So, I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff that is terrible for your body. But a lot of that goes to faith. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you stand in faith as well. But it's kind of like this. You can't purposefully have the knowledge and put crap in your body and expect you to be a well-oiled machine. So if you don't have the wisdom, or if you don't have the revelation of it, fine. But if you care and you want to be as clean as possible, then do what you can. You can get a reverse osmosis countertop water filter. It's a 3-part water filter. It does a carbon filter, UV light filter, and reverse osmosis for like $300 on Amazon.
Would you and Pastor Valerie ever, like, in the foreseeable future, talk about, like, expound on that, and, like, talk about how, like, the body is a temple of the Holy Spirit? And I feel like, even with all the foods and stuff we eat, could probably end up curing a lot of the sicknesses that people...
Not could. It's been proven. Yeah, so like even when I was in Bible school almost 20 years ago, I remember someone got cancer in the church. Pastor Rodney paid for her to go live in Ecuador for 3 months, and she was healed. Just by diet. Just by diet alone. Getting off all the chemicals that are here in the U.S., going to a high fibrous diet to where it just pushes everything out of your body. Clean water. Clean water is huge. But yeah, I mean, food alone can cure most diseases. I mean, that's what I believe there's a seed. Is it pumpkin seed? No, it's not pumpkin seed. Apricot seed. There are certain tribes that they have a very heavy diet of apricot seeds that never get any form of cancer. So, I mean, there are all kinds of stuff. I mean, we could get into, I can't say it on live, but into the jab. We could get into all that. Yeah, Mallory said clean water, clean air, change your products with clean ones as you run out. So that's the thing. Like, you don't have to panic and clean out your whole pantry and spend thousands of dollars, but as you run out of a product, replace it with a clean one. Research it, replace it with a clean one. Yeah, I'm sure if the interest was there, I'm sure we could do it. I mean, she researches everything. Change your laundry detergent first. And you could get into EMFs, getting an EMF mat, all of that kind of stuff. You can get EMF mats that aren't super expensive. So that's like a endless thing. Like that would be a 23-part series as well. No, I'm just kidding. Miss Dawn, how do you get enough energy strength to lift weights when on a low-carb diet? You don't. You just don't. That was one thing I noticed pretty quickly. When I am lifting, I have to have carbs and fats. If I don't, my workouts suck. And Jason's in here and he shook his head no as well. Like, eat the right carbs. That doesn't mean go eat fried chicken and like other stuff like that. But like, eat the right carbs. Some rices. What else would you recommend? Some nuts.
Carbs is one of those things where it's like, it's kind of tricky, but I mean, yeah, just like your fruits are fine usually, rice, potatoes, stuff like that. But
Yeah, rice, potatoes, fruits. What I noticed, and then we could get into the whole rice thing. Like, you have to be careful. You have to. Anyways, I don't want to tell people that; they'll freak out. I get maxed out on. Yeah, if you don't do carbs, you're done lifting. You can't lift. Like, you'll go through your first 2 sets and feel like you just did a whole leg day. Like you just like you get lightheaded and you have to tap out. It's not doable. It's not realistic. That doesn't mean go eat bread. Bread's in this country is pretty terrible for you. That and dairy are where I noticed the most overseas. Yeah, go for it, Miss Dawn. That's what we're here for. Another 7 minutes. Do you eat carbs before or after a workout for someone like me? Okay. We want to get into this, Jason? Jason, you want to come sit over here?
can I?
Yeah. Come sit over here. So carbs, you've got to. A lot of it depends on what time of the day you're working out. Like, don't mind him walking in front of the camera. It's fine.
Sorry.
I like working out in the afternoon. Like, I've tried to be that 5 a.m. workout guy, and it's just not me. So I eat a very heavy lunch usually that involves carbs. You're gonna put this in. That involves carbs because I know I'm about to hit it hard in the afternoon. Now, if it's a day where I have a recovery day or something, obviously I'm not gonna eat that much. But then also, here's the other thing. Most people are like, I gotta slam my protein right afterwards. Yeah, you do. But if you don't replace the glycogen in your body right away,
Glycogen, yeah.
then any protein you're getting turned into sugars anyway. So that's what, like, First Form, I know they do a carbohydrate protein mix for post workout, so that you're getting the sugars replenished and so that the protein's processed properly.
I was gonna say, like, now this isn't to say to do this because it's probably not the healthiest thing, but there's a lot of bodybuilders out there and like after their workout, they'll have like gummy bears.
So the same, you can do it. There's a healthy way. You just
Yeah.
go have like a green apple. You have
Exactly.
a green apple and then your protein. You're just trying to get some kind of natural, semi-healthy sugar to replace the sugars you just depleted, so that when you do take your protein on, it's actually being absorbed as protein and not turned into sugar.
Yeah. And one of the biggest things I'll do before my workouts is like, I don't really do this as much anymore because I felt terrible, but I'd have like a Rice Krispie treat before. And that's like really popular in the gym community, is to just have a Rice Krispie treat before, because it's like fast digesting sugars, probably not great ones for you. And then it's just carbs. So carbs are super important. I feel like the whole like idea around them making you fat came from like, they make you look bloated for a little bit, but it usually is just your glycogen going up, which means you have more water in your muscles, but more water in your skin. So that kind of gives the look that you're more fat, but it goes away within like.
But they're necessary.
Yeah,
Like, especially if you're lifting, they're absolutely necessary. It's kind of like fats. They've told us for years to stay away from fats, but fats are what keep your brain healthy. Like fats are essential. Like your healthiest fats though are usually like nuts, avocado, things like butter. Like for years, how many years did they tell us butter's bad for you? But if you go get natural butter, like actual butter, the way it was designed to be made and not injected with crack cocaine, then it's good. Like the best way to cook a steak is just butter. Like you get buy grass-fed butter. You put a steak in a cast iron skillet with butter and just keep spooning butter over it. That's the best steak there is, and it's healthy for you. Like, I mean, you could get me all on the red meat. They told us how many years red meat was bad. No, it's not. No, it's really not. So, anyways.
And I used to do the low carb thing, and I would always get super lightheaded.
Yeah, I tried it for like a week and was like, nope, tortillas. Bring me tortillas.
Well, that's that's what I thought you had to do. And then I did a little more research, and if you just look at like, I mean, it's depending on your goals, but if you just look at general people who bodybuild, they're very not healthy a lot of the time. But a lot of the time when it comes to nutrition, they know what they're doing. Because especially before they step on stage, they need to like flush out their body of all of those carbs, all of that water and stuff like that. So they usually know nutrition, not really like the generally like healthy stuff and what has like stuff that's going to make you have cancer, because a lot of them go out that way. But yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot to it. The other thing when working out in nutrition, like you got to know your goals. Like not everyone's trying to pack on a bunch of muscle. A lot of people are just trying to be healthy. So you don't have to be as extreme as some people are. Like you just got to know your goals and be realistic. That's always my biggest thing for people that are like, hey, I'm about to start working out. Okay, hey, slow down. Because they want to jump in and work out 6 days a week for an hour a day, and I'm like, hey, I don't even do that. Like I literally work out like 5 days a week for 40 minutes to an hour and 5 minutes, and that's it. I'm done. And like some days, depending on what I'm doing during that season, some days my workouts are 30 minutes. Like I don't like a lot. I think a lot of people overtrain, and especially inexperienced people, they overtrain and then they're hurt and then they can't train.
That's my first thing I tell everyone. He's like, people are like, hey, I want to grow my chest. And I'm like, all right, what are you doing for chest? And they're like, oh, I do like...
I got implants.
like 5-6 different exercises, and they're just overtraining and they're dead.
Exactly.
They don't have time to recover.
Exactly, yeah. And here's the thing, like if you're trying to... this may be completely opposed to the way you work out because you work out for like a bodybuilding style, but if you're trying to cut weight, like if you're trying to just like lean out, then you don't need to do chest day. You don't need to do leg day. You need to do like full body workouts 3 days a week and then walk. Like that's really it. To build strength and tone, is heavier weight or more reps better? More reps. I mean, but there's two different things, strength and tone. Right?
So what I learned, the last time I did a cut, it went really well and I kept a lot of my muscle. So it depends, like if you're like trying to lean down, I'd say going heavier, which isn't like usually very like It's kind of controversial, but as you keep that strength while you're trying to lean down, you're also going to keep that muscle. Like it goes hand in hand. You're not going to be strong with no muscle. Like you see it sometimes, but usually that strength and muscle goes hand in hand. So, I mean, if you're trying to like tone down and lean down, then I'd say go heavier. If you're trying to build muscle and stuff like that, and you have that extra food in your body so you can build muscle, then I'd say more reps. But that's just like personal experience. I know some people who, when they're like bulking, they want to get with those heavier weights. Like personal experience, I like doing heavier weight just because you're also eating less food. So you're going to be like super, super like tired all the time, usually. So it's like you don't want to be sitting there doing like 20 reps while you're tired and don't have any fuel in your body. I don't know, is that like similar to how?
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what I was saying earlier. You've got to eat and train according to your goals. So if your goals are to pack on strength and pack on size and like see definition, because there's a difference between putting on strength and toning. Like those are two different goals, and you've got to eat and train according to each of those. I mean, you can, if you're trying to do both and you don't want to see like, you're not training to be a bodybuilder or anything like that, you're just training to be healthy, then I would say more full body exercises, because you're not sitting there trying to get a one max rep of 300 bench or anything like that.
Yeah, you just got to find something that fits your lifestyle, fits your schedule.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing. Find something that fits your lifestyle, because if you're trying to do something that is unrealistic for your lifestyle, you're going to do it for a week, then you're going to get frustrated and give up and stop doing it. Then you're going to get frustrated. You're so frustrated that you probably go binge eat, like if we're just real. So you're going to actually take steps backwards. So.
And you can do a lot with like.
We're out of time now.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
All right. Well, that was it. That's our series on healing truths. We love you. Thank you so much. We may do a series on, I don't even know what you want to call it, living clean. At some point. I don't know when. We would have to prepare for it. It would take lots of not necessarily research, because we've already done the research, but putting it all together. So it would take lots of preparation. So, all right, love you guys. Have a great day. We will see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Sunday, what all do we have going on this weekend? Soul winning this Saturday, potluck, the family fun foodage. What did I call it last night? The family fun feast of the fall. So bring your family, bring food, and bring your festive attitude. Love you. Bye.